Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today is the first installment of our weekly Mystery Monday videos, so I hope you enjoy. Today's going to be about a very well-known case, so let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. Today is going to be all about the Zodiac Killer. So without further ado, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and jump right in. We're gonna be using BuzzFeed's Unsolved video as a reference here, just because we think it has a lot of good and accurate information, and we also love Ryan Bergara's voice. So without further ado, we're gonna jump right into that, and then we're gonna be pausing along and giving you guys our point of view
and reactions.
Yeah.
Right now we are at the scene of his first crime, which at the time seemed like a good idea, but now that we're here and it's fucking pitch black, this is a horrible idea, so let's just get this over with.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
So in the late 60s and early 70s, the Zodiac Killer terrorized Northern California, killing at least 5 people and claiming to have killed 37 people in total.
37 is a lot of people.
All right, well, 37 people, that's a shit ton of people.
1968, around 11 p.m. near Vallejo, California. 17-year-old David Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen were shot and killed while sitting in a parked car in a gravel parking area off of Lake Herman
I
Road,
like how accurate
in the
this
exact
is compared
spot
to like
we
the
are
movie
sitting
that I
right
think is
here.
on Netflix.
The exact spot, like right here.
Like right here.
It's just the wind.
Yes, right here.
It's the wind!
It would be a little creepy, I think,
not
to
freaked
be
out
telling
over
a
here?
story of
No.
like a murderer.
What the fuck, dude?
Right
It's
where
the
murder-
wind!
Right where the murder happened.
You want me to close the window?
Yeah, let's close the windows. Fuck this shit.
If anything, that will make someone easier to hear footsteps to sneak up on us.
Fuck, you're right. Let's open the windows. By the time police arrived, Betty was found dead on the ground 30 feet away from the car, but David was still alive. However, David would die on the way to the hospital. At this time, nobody knew that this was the work
No,
of a
this
serial
time
killer.
he died.
Oh, because it was the first murder.
Because it was the first time. Can we leave now? Next crime would occur on July 4th, 1969, around midnight near Blue Rock Springs Park, only a few minutes away from the previous crime. The Zodiac approached a parked car with a flashlight, shooting 22-year-old Darlene Farron and 19-year-old Michael Mageau before walking away and coming back to shoot them both again. Both were still alive when found, but only Mageau would
See,
survive.
this is the one where
Mageau
the guy...
was able to make out the face of the man who shot him and described him as a young white man, approximately 26 to 30 years old, stocky, 200 pounds or larger, about 5'8" with light brown curly hair and a large face. Within an hour, the police received a phone call from somebody claiming to be the shooter. He also claimed to be the shooter in the Lake Herman Road murders. On August 1st, 1969, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald all received identical handwritten letters from someone claiming to be the killer. The letters revealed specific details about the murders to prove that the writer was, in fact,
So this
the
is
killer.
kind of...
The letters were signed with a distinct mark, a circle with a cross through it, the mark that would eventually become known as the mark of the Zodiac Killer. Also included in the letters were 3 different codes that the Zodiac demanded be printed in newspapers or else he would kill again.
Why did...
This is where it's kind of like the thing that makes the Zodiac, that makes him special, I guess you would say. I don't want to use that word to kind of sensationalize.
Makes him stand out, maybe.
Yeah, it makes him stand out. But that's what makes him stand out, is because he kept giving codes to the police, kind of taunting them and telling them that they wouldn't be able to find him.
1969, the code was cracked by a couple in Salinas, California. It reads, "I like killing because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill. Something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and those I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for afterlife."
Since when do you...
So that's actually really interesting, because, and I'm actually gonna pause it right here just because I do want to talk about that a little bit. I did a little bit of research, and by little bit of research I mean like a Google search, and then like clicked on a couple of the first things that came up.
That's research.
But yeah, I did a little bit of research on his actual codes and stuff like that. And apparently, one of the hardest ones was just deciphered about 2 days ago, which is actually really cool. That they're still like working on this kind of stuff. But yeah, and in that cipher, he mentioned not wanting to give away his identity because he wanted to keep building this like afterlife full of slaves for himself. But he also said that he was getting more and more reckless because he was happy with the amount of slaves that he had already at that point. Some people thought that because that specific riddle was so hard that it was going to be the one that told his identity. But unfortunately, it did not tell his identity in there. It just kind of was him, again, like I said, bragging to the cops, letting them know, like, hey, even if I get caught, I'm being a little bit more reckless, but even if I get caught, it's cool because I already killed so many people that I have like a bunch of slaves in the afterlife already. So, which is
so messed up.
a weird thought to have in the first place.
I feel like he was okay with getting caught because he would probably like kill himself, thinking he was going to paradise with his slaves.
Maybe at that point. At the beginning, it was very much so him like being like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm killing people to get some slaves for the afterlife, and you guys aren't going to catch me. But then that specific note that just got deciphered a couple days ago was more so, and this is horrible to say, but it was more so him being content with where he had gotten in killing to garner those slaves for the afterlife. So it's insane that it took this long to decipher that. It kind of shows the just evil like genius that
how clever
like,
he was.
Like how insanely like how weird his mind must have worked for him to be able to come up with a code that takes this long to decipher and had like millions of like people look at it and nobody could figure it out until 2 days ago.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. So yeah, I just wanted to pause to kind of talk about that really quick.
Also, this guy sounds like just the biggest bro douche ever, right? Killing is better than getting my nuts off with a girl? Like, shut up.
On September 27th, 1969 in Napa, California, 22-year-old Cecilia Shepard and 20-year-old Brian Hartnell were picnicking on the shore of Lake Berryessa when Cecilia saw a man hiding behind a nearby tree and staring at her. After some time, the man came out from behind the tree, wearing an executioner-style hood over his head with a Zodiac killer symbol on his chest. He had a gun and a long knife and used pre-cut rope to tie up Cecilia and Brian before stabbing them repeatedly. Cecilia would die at the hospital, but Brian Hartnell would survive despite being stabbed 6 times in the back. Brian Hartnell described the man as being 5'8" to 6 feet tall, heavy-set, weighing about 225 to 250 pounds, with dark brown hair that he saw through the eye holes in the mask. A message was found on the side of Brian's car with the Zodiac sign, the dates of all 3 killings, and the words "by knife" written below the September 27th date.
What did he use to write on the car?
It's a little black paint, you know. He went to Jones Crafts and Supplies.
Right, Michael's.
Michael.
It's really crazy that he
On
took the
October
time out
11th,
to do
1969,
that. Like,
just
not-
before 10 p.m. in San Francisco,
would've been out of
California,
there.
at the
Fine.
intersection of
Well, I'm not like a criminal, so I don't really know what goes through criminals' minds when they commit a crime. But like, even something as small as like stealing a candy bar, which I've done when I was little,
Who hasn't?
or like I used to at like CVS. They used to have these little like balls. They were like gummy bouncy balls. And I used to like.
Were they like in a plastic bowl by the register?
I'm not sure where they were actually. I think they were in the toy section. But I used to take like there were like packs of 3 or something like that. And I used to like rip one open and take one. And it wasn't even for myself. It was for my cats. Like they used to love playing with them. So I would take one out and like run away and like hide it in my coat and just like be like,
feel
oh
extra
hey,
suspicious.
I'm ready to go, and be like, hey mom, are you ready to go? Let's go. And then I'd pull it out and play with my cats with it, and my mom would be like, where'd you get that from? And I'd be like, oh, school.
I feel like stores like that definitely know, probably see, and just don't care.
But I mean, stores like that, CVS has a no chase policy, so I mean.
What are they gonna do? Chase a kid for like a 20-cent bowl?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, even the smallest little thing like that I used to do when I was a kid, which you shouldn't do. Stealing is bad, but even the smallest little thing like that I used to do when I was a kid and kind of knew no better, even that I would be like, yo, let's get the hell out of here. So the fact that he killed, or like thought that he killed 2 people,
assaulted.
The fact that he did that and still stayed around afterwards long enough to like kind of stage his perfect scene and say like, all right, cool, I got the 2 people dead there, I'm gonna go ahead and write on their car.
Shows how cocky he was.
Yeah, it shows how like he really thought that he couldn't be touched, which is insane. It's insane to think, to have that kind of confidence where you think like, hey, I can not only kill people and take their lives, but also stick around and make it look exactly how I want to. Like, how fucked up do you have to be to think like that? And how like this was fairly early on in his like killing spree.
How, this is like his 3rd killing.
Like how confident do you have to be that like the cops aren't gonna show up, or like somebody isn't gonna pass by? It's just it's nuts. It's nuts to think that people can have that kind of confidence and kind of mentality and like not even be scared, and in fact taunt the police and
if
stuff
anything,
like that.
at this point he would already have like 6 slaves for his afterlife.
That's nuts.
Washington and Cherry, a cab driver, Paul Stein, was shot in the head by his passenger. A teenage girl from her home across the street heard the shot, along with 2 other witnesses in her home, and got a good look at the man as he wiped down the car and walked away. They called the police and described the man as a white male between 25 to 30 years old, 5'8" to 5'9" tall, stocky, with a reddish-brown crew cut and heavy-rimmed glasses. A police car that was nearby came quickly to the scene. But the chaos of the situation would strangely result in the police dispatcher incorrectly identifying the suspect as an African-American male.
Class.
So that's fucked up.
That's a 360 from the person that
Yeah.
it was.
Which is a whole issue in of itself. But
the police
let's
car
focus
driven
on
by
the case,
Officer Don
'cause
Falk and
we could
Eric
have a whole
Zelms
video
would
just
come up on
about
a
that
white
stuff.
male walking on the sidewalk described by Officer Falk as 5'10", 170 pounds, about 40 years old, wearing glasses with reddish hair and a crew cut, very similar to the description offered by the teenage girl. However, because they were looking for an African-American male, Falk and Zelms left the man alone,
Oh my god.
watching him disappear into Presidio Park. Yeah, brutal, right? Right now we're coming up to where the 2 officers allegedly saw the Zodiac. They turned left onto Jackson right here, and they saw a white guy walking right here. So the officers think he walked down to the park and entered through here, and then that's where they lost him. The Zodiac would later comment on this interaction in a later letter in detail, making it very likely that Falk and Zelms came into contact with the nation's most notorious serial killer at the time without even knowing it. A composite sketch would be drawn based on the 2 descriptions that would later become part of a famous wanted poster.
This a Ted Cruz wanted poster?
Yeah,
It is. It's the one that everyone's going.
Yeah.
It's like Ted Cruz.
Regardless, the theory's ridiculous because Ted Cruz wasn't even alive when the Zodiac was killing people. Case closed. It wasn't Ted Cruz unless he's a fucking time traveler.
Unless he changed his birth certificate, man. Remember how obsessed about Obama's birth certificate they were? I want to see Ted Cruz's real birth certificate, that's all I'm saying.
Another crucial piece of evidence was a bloody fingerprint discovered in the cab. However, the Zodiac also claims in a letter that it was planted by him to throw the cops off his trail. 2 days later, the San Francisco Chronicle gets another letter that claims responsibility for the cab driver Paul Stein's murder, and includes a piece of Stein's bloodstained shirt. Even more horrifying, the letter also included, quote, School children make nice targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning. Just shoot out the front tire and then pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out. End quote. He also later included diagrams of bombs that could be used on buses.
Where is he dropping these?
See, how insane do you have to be to think like,
let me just take out a whole school bus.
yeah, and not only think that stuff, but think that, hey, I know I'm gonna get away with it. Like, even I know so deeply, like, I'm so confident that I'm gonna get away with it, I'm gonna tell you guys about it.
He never did it though, right?
Task force was created so that multiple departments could share info. On April 20th, 1970, a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle included a cipher with the sentence, "My name is blank," which would later become a point of contention in potential suspects. The Zodiac would continue to send letters before stopping in 1971, only to send his last letter in 1974, where he claims to have killed 37 people and bizarrely reviews his viewing of The Exorcist, which he called, quote, "the best satirical comedy that I have ever seen," end quote.
What?
See, this
guy.
Can't imagine why he felt the need to write a Rotten Tomatoes review
He's
in his last
definitely-
letter,
But
but
he had no friends. The only people he could
He's
talk
definitely
to
crazy
were
because,
the
like,
press and the police.
come on,
like,
like, first of all,
he
you're
would
killing
frequent
people,
Yelper
but
today
then
if he were still
the
alive.
way that you're going
Oh, he'd
about it,
definitely be a fucking one-star Yelper.
Skipping
It's just so
forward, in
extra.
2002, the San Francisco Police Department was able to extract a partial genetic profile from a Zodiac letter from the saliva on the stamp. The profile was not enough to conclusively identify a single person, but enough to eliminate potential suspects. And with that, let's take a look at the suspects with the most circumstantial evidence against them. The first
all right, so now we're getting into the theories here. I just wanted to pause to say we're going to let them fully explain all the theories, and then we're going to kind of have a short little conversation back and forth on who we think did it. So this is going to be kind of a long session here. We might actually let them explain each theory individually. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. We're going to let them explain each theory individually, and then we will weigh in
Like
on
a
our...
two-sentence quick combo.
Yeah.
theory is from Gary Stewart, who believes that his father, Earl Van Best Jr., was the Zodiac killer. Gary Stewart published a book called The Most Dangerous Animal of All that presents this theory. Earl Van Best Jr. bears an uncanny resemblance to the composite sketch from the Paul Stine killing. His name also matches the number of characters in the My Name Is cipher. Finally, Stewart says a handwriting expert is virtually certain that Best's handwriting on his marriage license matches the writing of the Zodiac killer. Now, here are reasons why Best may not be the Zodiac. According to an administrator at the church where Best's marriage certificate came from, the handwriting is that of the priest and not Best himself, making the match that was virtually certain implicate the priest rather than Best.
Where do you even go to get handwriting like certification skills? Probably from the fucking University of Phoenix.
Oh shit! What did the University of Phoenix do to you?
They're like a for-profit college.
Are they? Furthermore, Best only matches the description of the Zodiac at the Paul Stine killing, but not the heavy-set, large-faced description of the Zodiac in the previous 3 killings. Gary Stewart also tried to test his father's DNA against the recovered 2002 Zodiac DNA, but investigators never complied, with the reason being not enough evidence to make a case.
Alright, well, I just wanted to weigh in right now. I think the handwriting thing, I took a whole class basically on how, like, handwriting experts are kind of full of shit. Sorry if that's your field, but they can be kind of swayed to believing a lot of different handwritings look similar. There are actually studies that prove that there are different people who thought like 5 different people's handwritings were identical. So definitely don't believe
In the handwriting
like
expert.
science, like forensic science like that. Just because there's nothing scientific about it. It's all just literally trying to match up handwritings.
Shapes and swoops.
Yeah, so although sometimes sure you can tell if somebody wrote something,
It's just not that accurate that you can put blame on somebody.
yeah, it's not accurate enough to where you can solely say, hey, it was him because like the handwriting looks exactly the same. And then on top of that, the priest wrote it, so
I don't think
I mean,
the police wrote it.
I'm not saying that
priests can't kill.
priests can't kill, but like
It's unlikely.
it's like, come on, like
It's just really shifting the whole thing.
yeah,
Again.
like basing it off of handwriting is not a valid argument, and actually it wouldn't even hold up in court. So that alone might be the reason that they didn't want to test his blood, because the validity of handwriting science, or whatever you want to call it, it's not a real science, doesn't really hold up in court that well. So that's probably why the police department didn't want to waste time and pursue running any diagnostics on the blood. Although I will say they should do it just to like write it 100% off, but
Stewart has maintained this is a police cover-up.
Number one, why do they say there was not enough evidence to comply?
Yeah, why not just test against the DNA though?
Yeah, does it like cost money, or like what's the reason not?
Maybe that DNA lab is super poppin', like they just have no time for theoretical tests. The second and most famous theory is from Robert Graysmith, who believes that Arthur Lee Allen is the Zodiac killer. This theory is the basis for the 2007 film The Zodiac, starring Jake Gyllenhaal as Robert
that's the
Graysmith.
movie they
Who
would
is
have
that?
been referencing.
Internet sleuth,
It is,
like us.
He's definitely more
movie starring
credentialed
Jake
than us.
Gyllenhaal and like Robert Downey Jr. and
hard.
Mark Ruffalo.
Actually,
it's the
Robert
MCU
Graysmith
before the
was a
MCU.
political cartoonist
Oh, I
at the
was like,
San
I
Francisco
thought it was
Chronicle
Zodiac,
that
but
became
that's a different
obsessed with
movie.
finding the Zodiac. After
Ted
a
Bundy.
decade of personal research, Graysmith wrote 2 books entitled Zodiac and Zodiac Unmasked that heavily implicate Arthur Lee Allen as the Zodiac. Here's Graysmith's case for Arthur Lee Allen. The day of the 3rd Zodiac attack at Lake Berryessa in 1969, Allen told his family he was going scuba diving at Lake Berryessa. Later that evening, he would come home covered in blood with a bloody knife in his car. And if you'll recall, the Zodiac murdered Cecilia Shepard that day with the knife. 2 years later, in 1971, one of Allen's friends, Don Chaney, said that Allen called himself the Zodiac before the killer publicly referred to himself.
I just don't understand how.
This was missed, or like this guy didn't come up and be like, hey, my friend has a nickname.
No, I just don't understand how you would call yourself Zodiac. Like, it's such a random thing.
And like now, zodiac signs are so trendy, but like at that time, I don't think they were a trendy thing.
You're like, that's not my name.
Yeah.
Zodiac? Okay, Zodiac, do you want to go out? Okay. Chaney also said Allen told him he was planning to hunt people with a gun and a flashlight tied to it.
What?
How do you just bring that up to
You
like,
tell your
yeah?
friend
How do
that?
you just bring that up to a
He
friend?
just
and
laughs. I was
the
like,
friend
oh,
is just like,
Zodiac.
yeah, okay, cool.
You're
whatever.
such a funny guy.
You're such a trickster.
Yeah.
As a result of this information, the police would interview Allen a second time, where Allen would say his favorite book is The Most Dangerous Game, a book about a man who hunted humans, and a book referenced by the Zodiac in his first letter to the press. To add insult to injury, Allen was also wearing a Zodiac brand watch, which contained the same symbol
That's
the
pretty
killer used.
circumstantial.
The police searched Allen's trailer home, where they found small dissected animals in a freezer, bloody knives, and sexual devices, but no direct evidence of the murders.
It's a weird thing to keep in your freezer. Cut up animals and sexual devices.
Oh, no, the sexual devices weren't in the freezer. That would
Okay.
be weird. No one wants a frosty dildo inserted into them. In 1974, Allen was convicted of child molestation, a crime for which he spent 3 years in jail. Coincidentally, during this time, no Zodiac letters were received. In 1987, a San Jose jail inmate named Ralph Spinelli told police that Allen admitted to him that he
I
murdered
never
Paul
believed
Stein.
those.
In August 1991, Vallejo detective George Bauer interviews Mike Mageau, the man who survived the second Zodiac attack and saw the Zodiac without his mask on. When shown a lineup of photographs, Mageau picked out the man who shot him. It was Arthur Lee Allen.
What?
With this info, the police search Allen's home again, and this time they find formulas for bombs, constructed bombs, and tapes about the Zodiac killer. They interview Allen again, and he says he knows nothing.
Wait. They found.
Okay, see, that's where I don't understand, like, why they didn't say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna arrest you right away.
So even if just the bombs alone,
Like
should get him some
there
time.
has to be something that either the San Francisco police or San Jose or wherever they are right now, I think it's San Francisco, either the police at the time really sucked at their job, which is possible, Or there's something else that like for sure ruled him out.
1 year later, in August 1992, Alan is found at home dead from a suspected heart attack. And with that, let's transition into reasons why Alan may not be the Zodiac killer. Alan's DNA was compared against the 2002 DNA extracted from stamped saliva on a Zodiac letter. It was not a match. However, it's also believed that Alan had a habit for letting others lick his stamps instead of him, which would explain why the profile didn't match him.
But I don't even like thinking that this guy was smart enough to think that.
In my opinion, that's an Olympic level stretch. Additionally, in 1971, the police took Alan's fingerprints, but the prints did not match the bloody prints recovered from the Paul Stein crime scene. They also had Alan undergo handwriting analysis, but the handwriting did not match the Zodiac either. Alan also does not look like the sketch from the Paul Stein killing in the slightest, but it's worth mentioning that Arthur Lee Allen was considered the prime suspect for the Zodiac for most involved police departments, and is widely believed to be the Zodiac.
Disguise.
For the second theory, I'm gonna say I think that is the most plausible one. I'm just gonna go out and say that right now. I think he was the Zodiac. The reason I think that is, one, it's super easy to maybe say like, okay, hey, like tell one of your friends, hey, I hate like the way stamps taste. Go ahead, can you do this for me? I guess
He
it's
would like my
somewhat
stamp,
possible.
and I would like his.
Yeah. So I guess that could be a little bit plausible. It's weird, but it could be something that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, there's the whole like handwriting thing, like as a big reason why he can't be. I am telling you right now, if you give me a piece of paper and a pencil, I can show you 2 versions of me writing my name.
That look nothing alike.
Yeah, or 3 versions of me writing my name. Or even more, like 5 versions of me writing my name, where they were all me writing it with the same hand, and you would tell me that they look completely different. Like, I can even tell you, like, I can write, like, I have ways that I write when I'm writing for myself. Like, if I'm writing notes really quick, that looks, like, way different than if I'm writing a paper out, or if I'm signing my signature really quickly. And that's with one hand. There are people out there who are ambidextrous and can write with 2 hands or with both hands. And like they look different on both hands. So could he have been ambidextrous and his writing looked different, and maybe he writes with his right hand normally, but he wrote with his left hand to write the
notes, and maybe they look similar.
It's also something that, even though like there are some people who are naturally ambidextrous, you can learn to write with your left hand. Like,
just like you learn to write with your left, somebody teaches you to write. Left or right? I mean, whatever. You learn. Somebody teaches you to write, and you can teach somebody to write with the other hand.
Yeah. Or you can teach yourself to write with.
Yeah, that's true.
You can learn, is what I was saying. So.
I also think the theory too is the most plausible. The only thing is like the description, but it's also possible that he just wore like glasses and like maybe a wig to do his killings.
Yeah. Or also,
there's also copycats.
First,
it could be he was just obsessed with the Zodiac and did like a lot of the murders.
Yeah. First-hand accounts, while they seem the most plausible, are actually very difficult. Are very difficult to find super reliable information from, just because in people's heads everyone over dramatizes everything, and they also, the more they think about a thing,
the more it strays from the truth.
Yeah, the more it strays from the truth, and the more subjectable they become. Like the easier it is to
kind of twist what they're thinking.
Yeah, and police do that all the time. Police literally do that all the time, where they'll have you in a room asking you a bunch of questions, and they'll say,
trying to twist your words.
Yeah,
into
they'll
getting
say things like,
certain answers.
okay, so you saw a man, right? Okay, and would you say this man was maybe like 20 to 30? Instead of saying things like, okay, so how old was this person you think that you saw?
So instantly you think, man, 20, 30s. Yeah, it was a man, 20 to 30s. Instead of, it could be a woman. Gosh, could be 15, could be 40.
Yeah. And obviously, I'm not saying that like everyone who sees anything in the world is wrong, but I am saying that like police are
like
very,
this,
police are going to be very pushy if they think someone is the person, and that's just facts. Dropping facts, hard cold facts. Look it up.
The third theory is from retired Escalon, California police officer Harvey Hines, who believes Lawrence K., more commonly known by the surname Kane, was the Zodiac killer. Kane was involved in a car accident in 1962, which resulted in brain damage influencing his behavior. One psychologist claimed Kane was, quote, losing the ability to control self-gratification, end quote. Additionally, Kane can be seen in the Zodiac's My Name Is cipher. And in that cipher, there are 3 8s with circles around them. 3 times 8 is 24, and Kane was born in 1924.
Okay, that means nothing to me.
Yeah, that's very. That's a big reach. That's a big reach. Like, come on.
Yeah. Additionally, the Zodiac's second victim, Darlene Farron, had a sister who said Kane was the man who followed and harassed Darlene in the weeks leading up to Darlene's murder. In the 1969 Paul Stein murder, the man suspected to be the Zodiac, seen by Officer Don Falk, was described as 35 to 45 years old. Kane was 45 in 1969. Officer Don Falk.
See, I would like to point out really quickly that in the officer's description versus what another description that we had where the person was 20 to 30 around the same time frame, and this person and this officer is saying the person's 30 to 45. That just kind of goes to show, like,
this person went from 20 to 45.
Yeah, like, people's accounts can be so different. Like, I have a person who comes into work, I thought he was straight out of college, and he's 45. So,
like, we're 23, but some people could look at us and think we're 18. Some people could look at us and
I don't think anyone looks at us and thinks we're 18.
Kids,
but...
I'm talking about kids. Like, didn't a kid see one of them?
No. Okay.
Falk said in 1987 that of the hundreds of pictures over the past 20 years he had been shown, Kane was, quote, the closest of them as he remembered the killer, end quote. Kane also lived a 6-minute walk away from Mason and Geary, the location where cab driver Paul Stein was thought to have picked up his killer. In fact, an excerpt.
One more thing I wanted to point out. The cop said that Kane was the closest to a match for looks as he remembered the killer. Dude, you drove past the guy. Like, you didn't look at him too much. You were looking for a black dude and you drove past a white guy.
Like, I doubt you stared at him
like,
more than like a quick, oh, it's that guy black or white. That's it.
there's no way you scanned him and said, yeah, I'll remember that for later. No, you drove past or walked past, whatever you did. I think it's drove. You drove past a white guy who was walking down the street.
Probably just noticed that he was white.
And you were looking for a black dude. There's no way I would trust you to tell me that who the Zodiac is. Like, sure, okay, you saw him. You saw him the same way I saw 20, 30 people driving home yesterday. Do I remember what they look like? No. Could one of them have been a killer?
Probably.
We're in Chicago, yeah. Anyone could be a killer. No disrespect to Chicago, but like, it's a rough city. But
it's nice.
But yeah, so like, I know you're a cop, so obviously you're gonna be a little bit more observant since you're like out patrolling looking for someone, but at the same time you're looking for a specific someone. You saw a
Your
white
mind
dude.
kind of eliminates anyone who doesn't fit that.
You saw a white dude. You're not paying too much attention to him. Like, I'm sorry, but you're just not. And you might want to think that you were because you don't want to seem like a complete fuck up, but you kind of are, dude. I'm sorry.
from Vallejo PD states, quote, investigation has placed K in the locales where several of the Zodiac's victims either lived or were killed, end quote. To piggyback on that sentiment, in 1970, Kane moved to South Lake Tahoe, and that year, a possible Zodiac victim that I didn't discuss earlier named Donna Lass disappears in South Lake Tahoe. Donna Lass also coincidentally worked at the same South Lake Tahoe hotel as Kane.
That's crazy.
But the last and arguably most damning evidence against Kane is about another Zodiac interaction I haven't discussed yet. On the night of March 22nd, 1970, on Highway 132 near Patterson, California, Kathleen Johns and her baby were tricked into riding in the Zodiac's car. After entering the car, the Zodiac told Johns that he was going to kill her and throw her baby out after her. As the Zodiac was about to make a turn, Johns jumped out of the car and ran into a nearby field with her baby and escaped. Despite some believing this is an unconfirmed Zodiac encounter, others believe a letter confirms this incident. Quote, so I now have a little list, starting with the woman plus her baby that I gave a rather interesting ride, end quote. The reason I bring this encounter up is because Kathleen Johns, unlike most surviving Zodiac victims, had extended FaceTime with the Zodiac. This is important because when shown a lineup of photographs, Kathleen Johns was reportedly able to pick out the man who tried to kill her. It was Lawrence Kane.
I mean, that's some pretty strong evidence.
But now let's look at evidence that proves Kane isn't the Zodiac. I couldn't find any instance of a DNA test against the recovered 2002 sample, nor could I find a record of Kane's fingerprint being tested against the fingerprint found at the Paul Stine crime scene. Furthermore, Kane's handwriting was not a match to the Zodiac's, but also could not be ruled out. Additionally, Kane, much like Earl Van Best Jr., matches the description of the killer at the Paul Stine murder scene, but does not match the large, heavy-set description of the Zodiac in the first 3 crime scenes. Now that you've heard all the stories, who do you think did it?
I think those two at the end are the most plausible, but
Alright,
I think
well,
the real
yeah,
answer would have to be...
The two at the end are the most plausible. I think it's the second one, though, for the reasons that I've stated already. And also, Kane, while he could have been the person who was in the car and maybe even the person that sent a note in, I think Kane would be more of fall into that like copycat role maybe. I don't see the Zodiac taking someone in a car, telling them he's gonna kill them,
Because he
and
snuck
not-
up on people all
and
the
not
other
doing it.
times.
And not doing it. I don't see him just like
Driving.
yeah, I would see him like coming back, running him over or something. Like although it does sound like something like the Zodiac would be cocky enough to tell them like straight to their face, like, hey, I'm gonna kill you, so
I
get
don't
ready
know.
type of thing. But
It could be either way. It could be
Thinking-
that Kane was the Zodiac and the other guy, number 2, was a copycat who was just kind of obsessed because he kept like videos of articles and stuff like that about the Zodiac.
but don't you kind of think that the Zodiac would have done that?
I don't know.
I think the Zodiac was proud of his work. Regardless of who it was, I think the Zodiac was definitely proud of his work enough to be able to kind of,
Keep memoirs.
yeah. So,
Hello.
have gone either way. I do think that
My money's on 2 and 3.
definitely is one of those. But I would say that I would say both are very sketchy, and one is either the
Copycat.
real one and one's a copycat.
Maybe they were partners.
It could be that they were partners. I mean, I would think that they would find some evidence of them like knowing each other though, or at least having worked together in the past or something that
I mean,
connected
they
them.
both were in the same location at some point together because like weren't both in the same location. Like they were able to track that.
No.
No. See, I'm already making stuff up in my head. I'd be a horrible witness.
All right. Well, yeah. So that's what we're gonna leave it. I think it was the second one. What do you?
I'll keep it with the second.
All right, second. So we think it was. What was the person's
I
name?
forgot his name. The big guy.
We thought it was the big guy.
Big bald guy.
Yeah.
That was the big bald guy.
He definitely. There's so many people in the world that can look so different at any given time. I put on a hat and a hoodie and I look very different than I look right now. So yeah, anyway, love you guys. Peace out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.
Regardless, the case remains unsolved.